Welcome to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers with Linda Prio. Will it be possible to remain in my home as I age? Do I feel safe in my home? How do I figure out how much support I will need when my health needs start to change? What if I decide to move into a community instead? Which community will meet my needs now and in the future? Who will play a role in helping me with decision making? Do you ask yourself these same questions? Aging in Place Strategies and Answers can help you gain practical knowledge that will help you create your own Aging in Place roadmap. If you are already a care partner, a power of attorney, or in crisis mode with your Aging in Place strategy, you will learn what you need to know that you don't know. For over 20 years, I have been marketing Aging in Place services to clients and educating families and healthcare professionals in how to put aging in place strategies into place. When you utilize aging in place, you are allowed to choose where you want to live and make those decisions so that you can retain your quality of life. It is my absolute pleasure today to be with Matt Allgeyer, and he is the managing member of Fyra Capital Management located in beautiful, historic St. Charles, Missouri. And if you are a regular listener, you might have caught our interviews on my podcast where Matt interviewed me, but today it's my turn to turn the tables and interview Matt. So even though Matt and I come from different career fields, I feel like we speak the same language and we have the same themes. And we understand the value as professionals that we can bring to the people that we're working with. So I want to thank you for taking your time to listen to us today. Matt,
Linda, thank you for having me. I don't know that there's value there. I don't know that you're going to find value in what I say or anyone else, but if you do, God love you.
Yes. Well, absolutely. I find value, or I wouldn't be sitting here, and I wouldn't have let you interview me either. So trust and transparency. Matt has a passion for educating clients so they can make informed decisions that help give them the confidence to pursue their retirement dreams, which I love. That's a theme that I talk about in my podcast. But as owner and managing member of Fyra Capital Management, Matt is responsible for helping with the firm's daily operations. That includes meeting with clients, reviewing portfolios, researching investments, evaluating risk, explaining the benefits of strategies and conversions, and offering advice on everything from cash flow and retirement strategies to legacy plans. Listeners, you're in good hands today, and I look forward to what we're going to discover during our time together. So you've already said hello to my listeners. They do know you're here, and I'm going to make Matt brag on himself a little bit and tell you about his education, how he landed in finance as his career field.
Wow. Thank you, Linda. So I grew up in South County. I went to St. Bernadette, which no longer exists. Sad face. And then I went to Vianney High School, one of 5 boys in my family that graduated from there. I graduated from Rockhurst University and the University of Seville in Spain. So I speak fluent Spanish, as fluent, I guess, as you could expect from a person who lives in St. Louis, Missouri. Mm-hmm. But marketing and economics were my majors, as well as Spanish. And my goal was always to go into international business. But I found a knack for talking to people and helping people. In international business, you don't always get that opportunity. You're working for a corporate. You're doing jobs that are not necessarily as fruitful or beneficial. So now I get to do this for the past 25 years every day. I get to talk to clients about how to fulfill what? Not money, not dreams. That's what it's all about, right? Mm-hmm. Our entire goal in making money throughout our entire life is to fulfill our dreams, whether that's Disney with our kids or whether that's Disney as 65-year-old adults that are retired.
Absolutely. I think that if younger people knew what we know now, right, we would do things maybe a little bit different. But that always comes with age, doesn't it?
Right. I mean, if you knew that you could save when you were in your 20s instead of buying that, I don't know, Camaro or whatever it is that you thought that you needed at the time, you could look back and say that would have quadrupled or quintupled by now. So if we invested as 50-year-olds, if we invested 10,000 now, it wouldn't equal nearly as much as it would if we did it when we were 20, right? So had we been able to talk to our younger self, let's make decisions differently, we probably would have.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. But all of a sudden, and this is what happened to me, all of a sudden your family's raised, you're working, and now you're thinking about the next phase of life. And this is why I wanted us to come together and talk this time, because I want it from your perspective. I had gotten a article on investment fraud, and that scares me. You know, it scares me for myself. It scares me for my listeners. And when we don't take the time to educate ourselves or to listen to that inner self, sometimes not everybody has our back. And I like to think that Matt's firm here at Fyra Capital Management has their clients' backs. I like to think of what I do in this podcast and what I've done in my career is to have your back. That Matt and I sit in a very global position as professionals. I'm able to see when you fractured your hip, I'm able to say, oh, the doctor took care of that. You're golden with that. Now, what do we do next? And Matt has that ability from where he sits as a financial planner and strategist, one who's going to help you with your retirement strategy, how to execute, and then what is your legacy planning really look like? So when you're looking for a financial advisor, you might want to just check out the Fyra Capital Management website, because their core values are trust, transparency, and integrity. And we're going to be talking about that today as we go through our time together. So I spend a lot of time telling people to be proactive in their planning. And, sometimes it takes some thought and some time to think things through and to come to the decision-making scenario. But how do you approach that in your practice here at Fyra Capital Management?
Well, first and foremost, I will say that whether we're ever considered experts, we are not experts on you. You are the expert on you. So take advantage of the fact that you know what you're comfortable with. You know your levels of comfort. You've got to work outside of those. If you want to be different, if you want to reach your goals, reach your dreams, you have to be uncomfortable. Okay? And we're not talking uneasy. We're not talking, I don't feel comfortable with this advisor. They're asking me to do things that I've never done that I feel will only make them money. We have to be careful. Being in discomfort is different. It's different than feeling like you're being taken, right? So in a relationship with a financial advisor or anyone, a doctor, you know how they say, they don't have a very good bedside manner. He or she is an amazing doctor. They can fix everything, but I don't know that I'd go out to dinner with them, right? Mm-hmm. With a financial advisor relationship, you kind of want to do that. They're so close to all of the facets that you're going to deal with in the future, whether that's income or risk coverage or your estate plan or how you want things to go health-wise. They're so close to all those decisions that you want to be comfortable with them. They don't need to be your best friend, but they better have a good bedside manner. So our goal as advisors is to agitate and not to irritate. Okay. Irritation means we're annoying, right? We're annoying you. We're doing things that may seem as though they're only beneficial to us. We're suggesting things that it sounds to you like, gosh, it sounds to me like they've said this a lot. They're really polished at suggesting this investment or telling me this is how it's done. If it seems that way, you guys are the litmus test, right? If it smells, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Right.
Right. So feel comfortable in your own decision, but we are also taught to be scared of everything. Right. We are always taught to put rocks in front of it to scare people and say, well, I don't like that. Your first reaction when it comes to finances more often than not is the glass is half empty. Just relax. There's no decision to make. And if you feel pressured for a decision, step back. You control that conversation. You're the driver of that car.
And I love that because we don't know what we don't know. And so giving all of us that card that says, I'm the decision maker here. You don't have to snow me. You don't have to overpromise and underdeliver. We're old enough to know that we know what who we want to work with, but we truly are in the driver's seat here.
And you may make decisions that you think were fairly quick. If they're fairly quick, step back. The one thing that I said with my wife, my beautiful wife, Casey, is we agreed in our marriage vows that we would never do anything until we talked about it and slept on it. So we don't own a timeshare. Mm-hmm. Right. So we don't own things that we feel were sold to us. And, well, if you don't buy today, you're not going to get X, Y, Z. If somebody says that, you should immediately say, well, then I guess I'm not going to get it. Mm-hmm. Because no decision that is important should be made quickly.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to finances, people don't like to share what they have. I get into that scenario quite frequently. I just had somebody the other day tell me that the CFO for this national company was running out of money in a year and a half. I don't know what kind of CFO would run out of money in a year and a half. I'm just thinking that they weren't transparent with me. And so even on my side of the desk where I'm talking about health, the thing that you don't want to tell me is what I really need to know. And I'm probably going to find it out and I'm probably going to put my finger on it, not in a way to be bad, but just that if we're going to solve a problem, I need to know that. How do you have a role as a fiduciary, correct?
We do. We have a role as a fiduciary to put your interests ahead of ours. Imagine, I remember sitting when my father had cancer and we knew that he couldn't beat it. We did the research on the cancer, and we found that it's very unlikely that he would be able to beat it. But he sat there with the doctor, and what he gleaned from every single conversation, and I sat in on many of them because I'm in town and I'm around, he walked away and the first thing he said is, I'm as healthy as an ox. And I said, wow.
Is that what you heard?
Do oxen live forever? I don't know, but healthy as an ox. And it's weird because though I speak a different language, I didn't speak that language. If you ask the same question to your kids that you would answer, I'm sure you would get different answers. They're in different periods of their life. They're at different times. But when you're with a financial advisor, if they are not making you somewhat uncomfortable, but educating you on the possibilities, don't let them sell you something. Let them make you uncomfortable about, oh my gosh, you know what? My wife or my husband's talked about that and I never really listened and maybe they're right. I can't tell you how many times my friends have told me to do ABC, but my wife Casey's told me 50 times and it's the first time that I listen and she's like, oh wow, there it is. You finally decided to do it, even though I've told you so many times. So if an advisor is frustrating you because it feels as though they're trying to offer you something, that's different. But if you walk away and you and your spouse or you are building conversation in your head, idealizing what would happen if you did certain things, flip the page of that book, find a new chapter, find an advisor that's good for you now. And do not be afraid if the advisor that you're with, don't feel as though you're obligated or you owe them anything. They have been paid to do what they do for the period of time that they did it. Mm-hmm. You don't owe anybody anything. You owe it to yourself to be a better you, but you don't owe anybody anything when it comes to finances.
What if you made a decision and you're thinking, ugh, I don't know, it doesn't feel good now. Are you really stuck?
Well, you know what I would say is what would you tell your kids, right? What would you tell your kids if they made a decision? My mom and dad, if it was soccer, and I was super horrible at soccer, I was 2 weeks in and I'm like, this is not for me. Like, well, that's great. Well, you get to do it for the year. But nobody says you have to do it for life, right? Nobody says, well, that decision you made, that's going to cost you for the rest of your life. Make the decisions and change them as needed.
And I love that because we want to talk about professional roles. And so I could see a scenario where I had made a decision, and at the time I thought it was good, not yielding what I thought it would. The market's changed. The whole climate of the world has changed since COVID. But I have longevity, right? So we came in at a market that was 16% interest. Our first house was financed 16% interest. It came down to 11.
It's down to 3. It's up to 4. Okay. So in your lifetime, those things change, but I wouldn't know how to make those changes because I'm not a professional. So even though I might have had a good decision, now I can see that I've just been hanging on to this for no apparent reason, but I really don't know how to get out of it. The value of coming to someone like you who can help.
Are they building you or are they sustaining you? There's a difference. If the financial advisor, he or she, is bringing new things to the table, trying to push you, they're building you. They're building you into the person financially that you need to be. And they may bring your kids in. They may suggest your spouse needs to be here every time. I know he or she doesn't necessarily deal with this. You do everyday bills. But what if you're not here? Right? If they're not building you, if they're just simply sustaining you and your response is something like this, well, I've worked with them for 20 years and they're my buddy. And the last thing I'd want to do is leave that. And I would say this to them. Well, you've paid them X amount of money per year to be your buddy. You're going to find out very quickly if they are your buddy, if your life changes and you don't want to be around that, or you want to move on to a different chapter of your life. You may have been ultra aggressive investing because you had time and you were putting money in.
Right.
Now you're no longer saving in retirement. You're spending. So what has to change? Everything with investment. Like she said, an 11% rate on a house at the time, if the average rate was 13%, would have been phenomenal, right? But people this age would have laughed at that. They would have said, what a horrible investment decision. 11%. You can get it for 3%. Well, then you couldn't.
No,
right?
not
it
at
had
all.
to change. You have to change with the times. Otherwise, you become the dinosaur, right? So don't work with somebody that sustains. Work with somebody that builds.
Absolutely. And I love that because these are the things we just don't know and we don't feel comfortable. And then now I know the language that I can use, right? When I come and I meet with somebody, I can say, hey, this is what Matt taught me. These are some of the words I can use, and that should click something in gear with your fiduciary.
Listen to me. Do not be afraid of discomfort. Embrace it. Because the people that embrace it, they grow bigger and better and stronger and faster than everyone else. The people that, it's not, you know what they said before a long time ago? They said Abraham Lincoln fell on his face hundreds of times before he became the president, right? It's in the falling that you learn. And they said, you can live your life normally. And I'm throwing all of these things out there. You can live your life normally. And I can't remember who said it. It was a boxer, and I apologize. But what he said is, life is easy. Everything's fine until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Right? If you haven't been punched in the face, I can tell you this, you probably have. You just didn't notice it, or you will. So be prepared.
Yes. And I think that is what we see in our professional relationships with people. And as people who offer guidance is that we don't know when the punch in the face is going to happen. And so we don't always get to choose, right, when that punch in the face is going to happen. So if you have a plan, that can be very beneficial. And then some people want control of everything. So Matt, when they come to you, they're not giving up control, right?
No, because the goal in our practice is education. I don't want to make the decisions for you. When I hear a client come in and say, well, our advisor does everything for us, we trust them inherently with every decision, I immediately pull back. I'm like, oh, you don't even know what decisions you're making? You're just letting them do it? You're changing. You're different. You're not the average person. You're not normal. You're amazing. You've got to take advantage of that. And if you're fully trusting someone else that has never educated you on the decisions that are happening, that scares me. You should know. You should want to know. And maybe you don't need to know every single thing. But if you don't flip over rocks, you may pay way too much for that car, or you may buy a house at the wrong time, right? We have to learn from our mistakes. We have to grow and change. Otherwise, we're just sedentary.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, if you listen to me long enough, you know, I'm not going to let the grass grow under your feet. And so we want the retirement that we dreamed of. We want the planning so that we know that we've taken care of the people that we want to take care of. And that's what you can do with a professional planner. And then, of course, the freedom of having somebody who's a professional watching it from above, watching it, who has a 360-degree view view of the world, right? That can say, "Ooh, we got to pivot. Let's talk about if you want to pivot." Or what it needs to happen, and I'm gonna be that irritation too that aggravates you into making decisions, and that's what part of this podcast is really about. I want you to make sure that you check out Fyra Capital Management's website, fyracapitalmanagement.com, and I also know that you can download a free guide that will help you, and these are their words, rappel down the retirement summit, because we want to do that well. We don't want the rope to break.
And though it doesn't cost, guys, it doesn't cost anything. It should never cost anything to find out if you're comfortable, right? Sure, we have access to things that you would not have access to that can analyze where your portfolio is or going or where it's been. We can do all of that, and we do that. We do that for free for our prospective clients and for our clients. Why? Because we know that it takes a lot to make a decision. These are numbers. We'll give you the numbers. We'll give you the guide. But the goal for you is to give us the ability to work with you. But that comes with comfort. That comes with time. That comes with trust. That comes with transparency. That comes with integrity, right? It comes with all of those things. If you are missing a few of those things in the current relationship you're in, whether it's financial or otherwise, you owe it to the future you to find that. You don't owe it to us. You don't owe it to anybody else. What I will tell you right now is the decisions that you make are phenomenal, but you need to make them. Imagine this. If every decision you didn't make, someone else got to make for you, how often would you be changing and making decisions? I want to make those. Those are my choices. If I don't choose those, I give that right up to my wife, my husband, whomever it is, my spouse, or my children.
Right.
And where are they? They're on a different plane. Right? If you're 30 and you have kids, when you're 60, they're 30. When you're 90, they're retiring. They think differently than you do. They invest differently than you will.
Yes.
So understand that you are the best barometer of where you are.
Thank you for that, Matt. And the number here at Fyra?
636-573-1212.
Okay. Well, I always leave my listeners with a caregiver tip. And so I was wondering if you had a caregiver tip for us today.
The caregiver tip that I have is this. You know that things that happen in your life, whether they're financial or care, they produce a ripple effect, right? It is not just you that is impacted by things that happen to you physically. So in my situation, my father passed away of cancer 3 years ago. My mother was a nurse at Cardinal Glennon, right? She dealt with kids under 16, and my dad said, okay, that's good enough for a 78-year-old. And my mother took care of him. We could see my mother deteriorating physically and mentally, and she was exhausted. And the companies with whom Linda works provide that care that's needed, that respite care, that time that the caregiver can get to be themselves again. Do not forget that there is a ripple effect to problems that occur with you, health-wise, financially, anything. So make sure that you help and aid those around you that are helping you through what you're going through.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the tips that you gave us today about ask a question of the people around you and see how many different answers you get.
Oh, ask your kids what you think.
Yeah.
Ask your kids what you would think. If I went into the hospital, I want to know what each one of the 6 of my mother and father's kids would do. And I'm telling you right now, you get a different answer from each and every one of them. Even though they know you, they are salt and peppering that food with their ideas. And they're always different than yours. So you make the decision while you can.
Yeah, and it's a good experiment to have. Thank you so much for being with me today, Matt. And listeners, I always value the time you spend with me.
Thanks for having me, Lynn.
Thank you for joining me today. Please remember that this podcast is intended as guidance and not advice. Share this podcast with friends and family who are currently in crisis mode or with people who would like to start developing their own roadmap for aging in place. Listeners, if you would like a deeper dive into a topic discussed during a podcast, please subscribe to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, where you will be able to access premium content. Or if you would like to suggest a topic for this podcast, please contact me at Linda linda.agingstrategies@gmail.com. As always, I value the time you spend with me.